The UVA basketball coaching search appears to be narrowed down to three top candidates. Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. The informal committee vetting the candidates has narrowed their field of view down, at least here at this point in time. We're talking mid-January, a couple months away from the season being over and the job probably becoming open at that stage. The three candidates that this search committee has narrowed down to: the Marquette coach, Shaka Smart, VCU coach Ryan Odom, and Furman coach Bob Richey. These are people that we talked about a few weeks ago when the search committee's much bigger field of potential candidates had been revealed to us here at AFP. Now, Smart, I'm told, is considered the favorite at this stage in the vetting process with the group, which includes prominent UVA basketball alums, former coaches, working toward having someone in line to be hired as soon as that person will be available. And that's an important caveat there because Marquette certainly, VCU probably, Furman maybe have postseason potential of varying degrees. NCAA tournament for a couple of those. At the least, I would say NIT for all three. I mean, look, Marquette's not going to be in the NIT, but I mean, NIT certainly a floor for these coaches, and what that means then is when conference tournaments are over. What's that though? Like the week of March 12th through the 17th or so is the final week of conference tournaments. The NCAA tournament then starts the next week. NIT would start around that same time, obviously. I mean, we're talking about second half of March for teams who might lose in the first weekend. The end of March for teams who make it through the second weekend, which then gets you towards the final four of the NCAA tournament or the championship round of an NIT. 1st of April. I mean, so that's the rough time frame we're working with here in terms of a coach, being available for the job and thus, being able to be hired by Virginia. Now, Ron Sanchez has been leading the program as the interim head coach, that since Tony Bennett stepped down on October 18th. Now, I want to give a little bit of background about each of these guys because Sanchez obviously still a candidate as well. Sanchez had been at Tony Bennett's side since their days at Washington State on the staff of Bennett's father, Dick Bennett. With a 5-year break for Sanchez between 2018 and 2023 when he left Virginia to go take the head coach job down at Charlotte. He went 72 and 78 there, but got the program back on track. They were 22 and 14 in his last season, 2022-2023. Left that head coaching job, took a pay cut to become an assistant coach at Virginia into the summer of 2023. Now, my thinking at that time was that Ron Sanchez returned to put himself in position to eventually succeed Bennett, whose contract at that time was set to expire after the 2025-2026 season. So that was 3 years down the road at that point. Now, Bennett would later confirm, he confirmed this publicly at his retirement press conference on October 18th, that he had been thinking as early as the spring of 2021 about stepping down from his job, citing the pressures of recruiting in the transfer portal NIL era, though he did curiously agree to a 5-year contract extension this past summer. We all know why that was. I was writing about his contract situation, which was not publicly known until I started writing about it after doing FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, and finding out that his contract came up at the end of I guess it would be the spring of 2026, the end of that academic sports year. He signed a 5-year deal, which would have kept him at UVA through 2031. His departure on the eve of the season, so would that be 4 months later? Not even 4 months after he signed that contract extension. It had two historical precedents, his departure on the eve of the season. The first one that came to mind was when Dean Smith, the legendary Dean Smith, stepped down from his UNC job in October of 1997. He left his longtime top assistant, Bill Guthridge, to lead the team. And Guthridge, he left him a pretty good team. Took UNC to 2 Final Fours in his 3 years as the head coach before he retired. The other involving Dick Bennett did not work out so well. He left the job to his top assistant at that time, a guy named Brad Soderberg, who is still on the Virginia staff. He was on Tony's staff for 10 years. He's still with the Sanchez interim staff this year. Soderberg led Wisconsin. So it was 3 games into the season. Wisconsin was 2-1. Dick Bennett was 57 when he cited burnout as his need to step down. Tony Bennett was 55, so I mean, apparently it just runs in the DNA there. To work hard and then you run out of steam. So they were 2-1 when he stepped down. Soderberg led Wisconsin to a 16-10 record when he was the interim head coach. 18-11 finish got them in the NCAA tournament, but that was a year after Dick Bennett had taken Wisconsin to a Final Four. 18-11 and a first round loss in the NCAA tournament did not keep the job for Brad Soderberg. Things didn't end up too bad there for the Wisconsin folks, though. They ended up hiring Bo Ryan, another Wisconsin coaching legend. He had been at Wisconsin Platteville for a long time, had just gotten a D1 job at Milwaukee and had been there for a couple of years before being hired at Wisconsin. Then which he led to a 364 and 130 record. What did he have? Two Final Fours, one Elite Eight, four Sweet 16s. Yeah, pretty good. Soderberg had played for Dick Bennett at Wisconsin Stevens Point. So I mean, there's all these Wisconsin. There's a lot of Wisconsin in this story. It might be worth noting, given all the Wisconsin I've talked about here, Shaka Smart is also a Wisconsin guy. He was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, and he's now back at Marquette in Wisconsin. So you have to wonder there, right? About could he be lured away from home? His first head coaching job was here in Virginia. We all remember at VCU. He took to a Final Four before he left to go to Texas and then took the job at Marquette a few years ago. The other guys who are considered the top candidates as of right now, Ryan Odom has deep UVA basketball ties. His father, Dave Odom, was an assistant coach at Virginia under Terry Holland for 8 years. Should have been the guy who replaced Holland. And then Ryan, when he was growing up, was a ball boy at UVA games at University Hall. His other tie to UVA basketball, we remember this one. It's not a good one. He was the coach at UMBC when UMBC pulled that 16-1 upset in 2018. Bob Richey isn't from Wisconsin, and he doesn't have any familial ties to UVA or anything of that nature. His only tie to UVA is also in an NCAA tournament upset. He led Furman to the upset over UVA in 2023.